articulating arm, which I'm planning to use to mount this GoPro camera on my steel fabrication bench. I'm planning to use this switchable magnet. It's a magnet sold to be used on welding fixtures, and it's a very strong switchable magnet. It holds really well. And so let me show you how I came up with this articulating arm. It was a lucky coincidence that I came across some parts made by a company called Flix that makes GoPro accessories, which are mounts for attaching GoPro cameras to airplanes. They make some very nice parts which really expand the versatility of these PanaVise clamps. These PanaVise clamps are from a partial kit. I only have a few bits and pieces of this kit. But I suspect this was something for mounting a security camera or some application like that where a camera would be permanently mounted to a wall. This flange is not very useful to me. It's much bigger than my magnet, so there is no way for me to attach this bowl. It's hollow in the inside. So this would have been okay to screw to a wall somewhere. And even though it's plastic, if you didn't move it around a lot, it would probably hold up. The PanaVise clamps are aluminum and would probably wear on this bowl. But because of these Flix components, there's a pretty elegant solution that's like a kit. So let me show you how it goes together. I'll take the camera off. So the best PanaVise accessory that they make, and they make several of them, is this bowl. It's an aluminum bowl that fits into these PanaVise clamps, and it has a 1/4 20 hole on the bottom, so it's tapped for a 1/4 20 screw. So this can be attached to any photographic accessories. So in my case, I'm using this double male 1/4 20 adapter to attach it to a GoPro mount. But of course, if you had a regular camera, this would just attach to it. So a bowl like this is much more useful as a kit in this sort of DIY situation than a wall mounting bowl like this one. These PanaVise clamps grip that bowl nicely. At the bottom, these clamps have a recess on them that grips to dovetail shapes like this. And PanaVise sells different length rods, but they're usually found in kits. I haven't been able to find a rod to buy separately. So this same company called Flix makes this bit that they call a dovetail. So let me separate it from here. It looks like this. So it's a turned item that has the dovetail profile. That's perfect for the PanaVise clamp like this. Here is the dovetail already in the clamp. In the center of it, there is a 1/4 inch hole, and there is a countersink. So a screw like this, and this is just a 1/4 20 screw, fits in here, and now this dovetail can be attached to any 1/4 20 threaded hole. So in my case, I'm attaching it to this rod. This is a 1/4 20 female rod that's used for various photographic rigs. So using this dovetail bit from Flix, I can make any rod with a 1/4 hole into a PanaVise rod. And using the bowls, it can be adapted to the camera end, but it can also be adapted to the attachment and some kind of a clamp, or as in my case, magnet. So to make this work, all I have to do is fabricate an aluminum bracket, which I plan to make out of this aluminum angle, that will attach here. There are 2 holes here which are tapped number 10. It's a 1032 thread. I have 1032 transfer screws, so making that bracket will be a snap, and then I'm hoping to finish that bracket in my vibratory tumbler. After I put it all together, I'm going to have a convenient fixture for attaching a GoPro on my metal workbench. I'm gearing up to cut my bracket for attaching the PanaVise arm to this magnet. First I have to square up this piece of aluminum angle. Well, that's a start of the bracket. I need to transfer some holes here. I need to drill this piece of aluminum for the 2 screws. These are 1032 threaded screws that are going to attach it to this magnet. But it's tricky. I tried to measure the distance between these holes and I couldn't figure it out. It was no round number. Luckily, I have some 1032 transfer punches, and to be correct, these are transfer screws. This is a transfer punch. This is a 1/4-inch transfer punch that I'm going to use to transfer my dovetail hole onto this piece. But these are transfer screws, and transfer screws are irreplaceable for these sorts of operations. They always come inside a container like this that also acts as a wrench for them. So I'm going to need 2 of them. So let me unscrew the cap and get 2 of them out. So it's a screw with a hexagon on it and a sharp point. And the sharp point is near the hexagon, and the screw is screwed into the threaded hole, which I'm going to do on the magnet now. So the screw goes into the holder. Yeah, the thread size is correct. I'm screwed in. The sharp point is sticking out proud. I believe I can get this just slightly deeper. Like that. That's nice. Now let me screw in the other one. So now the two transfer screws are evenly screwed in to the magnet, and I'm ready to transfer them onto the aluminum bracket. And I'm using this welding magnet to help me line everything up. My plan is to place this like this along the welding magnet, and then use this transfer punch to assure my edge distance. Now the aluminum bracket, which is the same width as the magnet, which is great, is in position, and now I punch. This is made slightly more difficult by the fact that the hammer wants to attach itself to the welding magnet. But I do have the two punch marks. The centers are exactly marked, very nice. It would have been difficult to get these holes right without the without the transfer screws. And the transfer screw is the proper name for them. And for the other hole, I'm going to use a transfer punch. Have this piece of wood to support this angle, because otherwise you can't put it on the bench. And so this is my position. Looks pretty nice, fits the curve of the bracket. This is exactly where I want it. So this is a transfer punch that's 1/4 inch in diameter. This is a 1/4 inch hole. The transfer punch registers in the hole. Now I have a hole, well, a center punched mark right where I want it, so I know the dovetail is going to sit right like I need it. We're at the drill press, and I'm not using anything to protect the bracket from the jaws of this inexpensive vise, because I'm going to tumbling this bracket in a rather aggressive media, and so I'm not afraid of marring it. This is a tumbling experiment. At the same time, because I'm going to be tumbling in a fairly aggressive ceramic media, I'm drilling holes undersized for now. I am afraid that the media might damage the finished holes. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I want to be careful with the holes so it doesn't ruin the bracket. This is a 5/32 pilot hole because I got a deal on a baggie of 5/32 drill bits. All right, so the bracket is roughly finished. Pilot holes are drilled. We're ready for another vibratory tumbling experiment. All right, so the bracket's been fabricated. I worked it over with a file and with 220 sandpaper. Now to the vibratory tumbler for some surface finishing, and these are called 1/4 inch ceramic triangles. For aluminum, this should be a fairly aggressive surface cutting media. The bracket is out of the tumbler. The finish is quite good. It's this gray matte finish. I've had an issue in the tumbler a couple of times where it would wedge against the center cone section of the tumbler, and I figured out that that was happening because I don't have enough media in there. This thing is not that big, but you got to have enough media to completely submerge the part, otherwise it can wedge it against something like a dam. So nice matte gray finish. So far my vibratory tumbler has been best at finishing aluminum, but I haven't tried a lot of finishing of steel yet. But to achieve this by hand would have been difficult. So now I'm drilling out the holes to size. This one is 1/4 inch. And by the way, my concern about the tumbling process with 1/4 inch ceramic triangles ruining the holes was unfounded. It's really just a surface process. I deburr everything but this countersink. All right, so I'm ready to assemble this whole contraption for holding this GoPro camera on this steel workbench. So this is the magnet. It's a Magswitch square. It's normally used for welding fixtures. So my 1032 screws. One. There's one of them. Here's the other. Yeah, so transfer screws are worth their weight in gold to have such perfectly aligned holes. It is beautiful. You can turn the magnet on. Okay, so I attached it on the wrong side. This handle, I checked it, will clear on the other side. So let's put this on the correct side. Luckily the Magswitch has identical screw holes on both sides. That's convenient. Yes, that's the good side. Nice, it holds well. Awesome. So there are several ways to assemble it. You can attach this bowl here, which is one option, and the other option is to attach the PanaVise clamp like this. For now, I think I'd like to do this. So I have to attach this dovetail. I've showed them before, this PanaVise clamp dovetail, which is made by a company called Flix. They make accessories for attaching cameras in airplanes. But this tremendously increases the versatility of the PanaVise clamp system. PanaVise should be making this part, but they sell their own rods and their own kits. So we'll attach this dovetail to this bracket, and so this screw is 1/4 20 screw. Alright, so the dovetail is now on the magnet. Now a PanaVise clamp. That'll be here. And so the bowl will go in here. So this is the arm. These are 2 rods for photographic rigs. They have 1/4 20 threads. I'm using these ubiquitous 1/4 20 adapters used in photography. So now I have my rod of the length that I like. I use another one of those double male 1/4 20 couplers in this end of the rod, and this is a nice aluminum bowl for PanaVise clamps. For these PanaVise clamps, that's made by Flix as well. Much nicer than the plastic bowls PanaVise camera mounting fixtures have. So I'll attach the bowl to the photographic rig rod. Now this can be clamped up here. It's coming together. I want to put another PanaVise clamp on top of this rod. And in order to do that, I need another dovetail on top here. So I need another 1/4 20 countersunk screw. I found this interesting one at home. It has a square drive for some reason. I don't know where it came from. But here's the square drive screwdriver. So now I have a PanaVise dovetail. At the tip of the photographic type rod. Now another PanaVise clamp, and in this clamp goes another bowl made by Flix. All right, the bowl is in the clamp. Another 1/4 20 double male double-ended screw used for just about anything photographic. That's now in a Flix bowl. And this is a Flix beautiful anodized aluminum GoPro holder. So if you were using a camera, a normal camera, let's say, that has a 1/4 20 on the bottom, you would be done about now. But there is one more step for the GoPros. And so here it is. It has this tremendous range of motion and bends past 90 degrees. Of course, it rotates all around. But this easy flip from side to side is an advantage of PanaVise over Noga. Although, of course, Noga arms are a beautiful product. All right, then, so we'll tighten this up. I'll hand tighten this. Hand tighten is good enough to hold the GoPro. What was rotating is the other bowl on that I hand tighten. And now the GoPro camera itself. The screw goes in from that side. Here we go. So this is my this is my magnet-held GoPro rig for the bench. The magnet is strong. The camera can be positioned in a million ways. Could be put down like this on the side, just off the bench. Instantly flip to the other side, just like that. So and of course boring shots like this. This is how you would normally position something. And of course there's a lot of equipment in the shop that has steel tops and steel fixtures, things like hydraulic press, and the vehicle project. My Land Rover project is mostly aluminum, but there's enough steel there to attach this when taking a video of doing something. And the Magswitch is, well, I can slide it, but I can't lift it off. So yeah, Magswitch is strong, and that's the small one. So here's my tumbled bracket, a bunch of normal photographic accessories, 2 PanaVise clamps, and the very handy dovetails, bowls, and the GoPro adapter that are made by the Flix company. I hope you like my camera holding arm. I'll see you in the next video.